Daniel Lucas,
And this is Mick, the Doctor of Digital.
and welcome to Music 101. Music 101 is created to empower music itself, and legendary icon in the music industry. Winter songs, the soundtrack of the cold season beyond Christmas.
Every December and into January now, playlists glow with the same familiar lights, Santa sleighs, and endlessly looping carols. But not every winter song belongs to Christmas. Beneath the glitter, there's another musical world, one that celebrates the season itself, the hush of snowfall, the ache of shorter days, the comfort of finding warmth and company. These tracks, from jazzy ballads to rock anthems, tell stories of weather and emotion rather than religion or ritual. In this Music 101 edition, we explore songs that define winter without ever lighting a tree. Together, they trace a century of sounds, crooners, jazz players, rock icons, and modern pop artisans who turn snow into metaphor and freezing nights into melody.
Freezing night, yes, definitely. Every genre seems to have its snow song. Why does a winter attract so much creativity? And you didn't think cold water or weather could silence musicians, not inspire them?
Well, because limitation fuels imagination. Winter strips the landscape to essentials, its grayscale beauty, and songwriters thrive on contrast. The hush of snow adds rhythm to silence. Take Let It Snow, Let It Snow, Let It Snow, arguably the ultimate secular winter hit. Sammy Kahn and Julie Stein wrote it in Los Angeles during a 1945 heat wave. They longed for weather they couldn't feel, and that longing sold millions. Vaughn Monroe's first recording reached number one on Billboard's national bestseller chart the same year, offering post war American optimism with a wink. When Sinatra covered it in 1946 and again in the 1950s, his velvet timing made it eternal. Its secret? No holiday, no doctrine, just warmth defending itself against the elements. Early radio loved that sentiment. DJs needed fresh music for winter rotation before Christmas singles became a category, so labels churned out what they called seasonal sides. Dean Martin's A Marshmallow World and Bing Crosby's Looks Like a Cold, Cold Winter kept turntables turning. In conclusion, listeners still recovering from rationing and hardship found comfort in sonic firelight.
Those mid-century crooners still dominate winter playlists, Mr. Meg. What was the magic formula for turning frost into warm?
So they met human needs before marketing could label it. Winter songs permitted people to reflect, to imagine romance, even to feel lonely. The absence of sunlight left room for transparency. By the early 1950s, this reflective quality became central to American mood music. Labels like Capitol and Columbia invested in lush string arrangements and close mic vocals, filling homes with hibernation soundtracks. These records taught generations how to slow dance in the living room when the weather said stay in. Technology and tone, the ribbon microphone turned voices into velvet. Singers no longer needed to project to the rafters, they could murmur directly to your ear. Tony Bennett, Nat King Cole, and Peggy Lee mastered that intimacy. Listen to Bennett's I Love the Winter Weather, I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm. Originally an Irving Berlin composition from 1937, Bennett revived it with playful restraint. He sounded like someone half smiling over cocoa rather than performing for an audience of thousands. My parents' favorite artist, Nat King Cole, did the same with The First Snowfall in 1953. His orchestra glides between romance and reverence, lush yet personal. The record peaked on easy listening charts for three winters straight, thanks to Cole's signature balance of technical polish and emotional weight. And then there's Billie Holiday. Her versions of Stormy Weather and I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm transform swing standards into human confessions. In conclusion, when she sang Can't Go On, Everything I had is gone. People in smoke filled clubs nodded because she made loneliness sound survivable.
Mr. Mick, are you suggesting that crooners thought people to feel without spectacle?
Crooners filled the dark with light one breath at a time. Sinatra's phrasing in Winter Wonderland turned playful lines, gone away is the bluebird, into gentle seduction. The tempo slowed, the strings swelled, and suddenly sleigh bells weren't for joyrides, they were background music for commitment. By mid century, the fireside ballad was a recognized genre. Songs about the weather were proxies for intimacy. They weren't really about snow, they were almost about reasons to stay inside. In conclusion, crooners captured the cozy side of winter, proving that a low note and a warm mic could melt more ice than any fireplace.
Before rag, jazz was America's weather report. Smoky rooms, hot trumpets against cold nights. Why did winter suit jazz so perfectly?
Because jazz thrives in contrast, improvisation against structure, warmth inside cold. The northern migration of musicians from New Orleans to Chicago and New York placed the music in snow country. The clubs became havens from icy streets, and those vibes seeped into the music. Benny Goodman's Winter Weather exemplified that duality, swing rhythm paired with gentle phrasing. Clarinet lines spiral like breath on glass, and vocalist Peggy Lee turns temperature into flirtation. It never topped the charts, but became a perennial background to holiday gatherings because it radiated sophistication. Claude Thornhill's Snowfall captured the sound of actual snowfall, spare piano phrases, muted horns, and a pacing slow enough to make time visible. Later, Thornhill's protege Gil Evans brought those chilled harmonies into Miles Davis's Sketches of Spain era. Ella Fitzgerald brought pure exuberance. Her sleigh ride is a definitive swing season cheer. Bright horns, crisp rhythm, a balance of precision and glee. In conclusion, with jazz, even when tempos raced, the feeling remained cozy.
So, Mr. Mike, tell us, and did not cool jazz literally brand itself with the temperature?
Chet Baker, Gary Mulligan, and Dave Brubeck made restraint their religion. Brubeck's In Your Own Sweet Way plays like sunlight through frost, controlled brilliance. Winter made cool a virtue before slang adopted it. The irony is beautiful. Horn that's born in the heat, matured in chill. By the 1950s, jazz was the dominant background for urban winter, romantic, sophisticated, reliably warm. Every snowfall had a saxophone solo nearby. In conclusion, jazz owns winter by turning temperature into tempo, proof that improvisation keeps the spirit thawed.
And Mr. Mike, tell us, then the 1960s hit amplifies Crank Up. The subtle jazz gave way to rock power. Did winter lose its elegance when guitars arrived?
Not exactly. It grew cinematic. Producers realized snow could be a spectacle. The Ronettes sleigh ride, built by Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, feels standing in a blizzard of reverb. Then sessions at Gold Star Studios employed multiple drummers, layered percussion, and even echo played back through stairwells. The result is Sonic Winter, dense, bright, unstoppable. The record initially charted modestly, but reemerges every generation. Streaming put it back on Billboard's Hot 100 charts of 100 tops during the last decade or so. Few songs sound as young every December. And after that came introspection. Fleetwood Mac's Landslide substitutes snowfall for passing years, quoting, I built my life around you. Stevie Nicks wrote it in Aspen, literally staring at frozen slopes. It wasn't just about relationships, it was about time itself. Guns N' Roses transformed that introspection into thunder with November Rain, 1992. At nearly 9 minutes, it broke rules and records. The longest top 10 single ever, filmed in a 1.5 million video epic, and the first 1990s clip to top a billion YouTube views decades later. Slash's solos rise like avalanches. In conclusion, rock stretched the weather into heartbreak operatic enough to make winter widescreen.
Indeed. And isn't it like winter grows from whisper to wall of sound over the decades, Mr. May?
Each each generation adjusts the thermostat. Earth, Wind, and Fire turned it tropical cool with December, a joyful remake of September that nodded to Christmas only once. And with this, we see pop and rock made winter versatile, equal parts dance floor and diary. In conclusion, amplified or acoustic, winter in popular music proves weather never goes out of style.
Yet so many winter songs sound sad, even when they are not slow. Why do the best of them ache a little, Mr. Meg?
Because the season invites reflection, fewer distractions, and longer nights. People start to look inward. Artists mirror that. Tori Amos's Winter distills the feeling. From sparse piano as frost, lyrics about fathers, aging, and the fear of forgetting innocence, it reached only number 25 in the UK, but it became a cult staple. When she sings, Why Can't I Hold On to It? You realize winter's real lesson impermanence. Billie Holiday had already mastered that tone half a century earlier. Gloomy Sunday drapes heartbreak over waltz time. Solitude lets every pause speak louder than sound. Every, even pop adopted that emotional sound, the light against shadow, as in Simon and Garfunkel's A Hazy Shade of Winter in 1966. The Bangles electrified it in 1988, and suddenly melancholy could dance. Winter often invokes a bit of sadness and melancholy. It's as if every winter song doubles as a confession. The genre's quiet honesty gives comfort. People play these tracks not to brood, but to feel seen. When nights stretch and leaves vanish, minor chords feel medicinal. In conclusion, melancholy is winter's mirror, cold on the surface, warm at the core.
Melancholy indeed. So far we covered romance, reflection, and heartache. Surely somewhere there must be snowmen getting punchlines instead of a poetry. What about playful sound of winter music?
Comedy keeps the snow from falling too heavily. Long before a novelty hits about reindeer mishaps, humor in winter were already trading verses. In the early 1930s, Depression audiences wanted relief. Songs like Button Up Your Overcoat reminded people to dress warmly while winking at flirtation. Button up your overcoat when the wind is free. Take good care of yourself. You belong to me. It's half street corner advice, half Valentine's Day card. Fast forward 2 decades, and mid century radio gets cheekier. Bobby Wayne's Snow, Snow, Beautiful Snow painted cheer out of monotony, an ode to winter chores disguised as a love song. It never chopped charts, but its upbeat tone became the sound of small town jukeboxes from Maine to Minnesota. DJs used it as a mood reset between torch songs. By the 1960s, satire ruled. The fictional Detroit soul trio, The Middle Three, released It's Too Early for Christmas, railing against retail stores decking halls in October. Regional DJs played it as protest commentary. Columbia executives reportedly squashed a national release, claiming it was too spicy for the shopping season, but there were actually two versions, a profane and a clean version were released. In conclusion, by hindsight, it foreshadowed what we now call the war on holiday playlist debate, proof that seasonality has always been up for laughs.
So even the Motown got the winter blues, but did not bring brass and sarcasm, Mr. Meg.
You bet. But then TV joined in. An episode of WKRP in Cincinnati titled Baby, It's Cold Inside, which aired January 3rd, 1981, parodied radio culture itself. But one of us on this podcast from relate to that show hit the mark for the 1970s radio broadcasting. I was there, and it comes close. The heat goes out of the station, and Dr. Johnny Fever broadcasts wearing gloves, sipping bourbon. Meanwhile, the on air banter mirrors the famous 1940s flirtation duet, Baby, It's Cold Outside, only this time the weather wins. Comedy kept cycling through the decades. Elmo and Patsy's Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer sold 11 million copies worldwide, demonstrating that mischief could rival sentiment on the charts. In conclusion, one of these mentions Christmas specifically, but just revel in seasonal silliness. But humor keeps winter humane. After a month of nostalgia, we need something nutty and funny. These novelty tracks act like comic relief in an emotional movie. Listeners can only stand so much introspection before they crave parody. Think of it as a marshmallow and hot chocolate, light, unnecessary, but indispensable. In conclusion, the funny side of winter music proves even snow deserves punchlines. Laughter keeps the heart thawed when the thermostat doesn't.
Streaming changed everything, Mr. Meg. How we listen, what counts as heat, even the idea of a season. How has digital age reshaped winter songs?
The short answer, playlists. Our grandparents bought singles. We subscribed to moods. On Spotify, one of the most followed global lists is literally called Winter Chill. It mixes Billie Eilish, Bon Iver, Sam Smith, and yes, Sinatra. Algorithms reinvent the mixtape by emotion. The effect? Songs written 80 years apart now speak the same seasonal language. Take Sia's Snowman from 2017. It didn't explode on release, but streaming resurrected it as a go to background anthem each December and January. The song's minimal arrangement, soft piano, retro crackle proved timeless. By 2024, it had crossed 500 million streams worldwide. Not bad for a new standard built entirely on old school songwriting craft. Then there's Sarah Bareilles and Ingrid Michaelson's Winter Song, still climbing viral playlists 15 years later after its release. Its refrain, Is Love Alive, sounds like a hymn whispered through frost. It charted modestly on Billboard, but reached number 2 in Ireland and remains a fixture in film soundtracks and wedding receptions. In conclusion, streaming and the internet granted it something 20th century radio couldn't, eternal replay each winter.
Indeed. And so new audiences are discovering these songs not through holidays but algorithms. Right, Mr. Meg?
Even rock bands got the streaming era renaissance. Red Hot Chili Peppers' Snow, Hey Oh, 2006 re-entered charts after viral guitar tutorials. The track originally spent 16 weeks atop Billboard's modern rock chart, the band's longest streak. Its title wordless yet evocative. The song treats snow as redemption. Come to decide that the things I've tried were in my life just to get high on. Cold becomes clarity. Taylor Swift joined that lineage with Back to December in 2010. It's an apology set in slush. Her production layers strings, even soft acoustic strums, a deliberate echo of crooner warmth meeting 21st century confession. It peaked at number 6 on Billboard's Hot 100 and proved pop introspection could still dominate mass radio. Modern artists seem addicted to the metaphor of thaw, melting guilt, melting pride, melting past. And streaming metrics show how universal that is. Spotify's data team noted a 20% global spike in acoustic music consumption during Northern Hemisphere winters. Emotional candor sells. Whether it's Hosier murmuring in cherry wine or releasing sad seasonal singles, introspection now travels faster than Slays ever did. Meanwhile, indie producers exploit nostalgia with lo fi aesthetics. They layer ambient jazz with gentle static, giving listeners the illusion of vinyl warmth even through their earbuds. Bon Iver's Holocene carries forward that cabin in the woods intimacy, music brewed for snowed in nights. You could say winter invented the vibe economy. In streaming culture, mood equals market. Playlists like Cozy Evenings and Coffee in the Snow act as emotional thermostats. And because algorithms don't surface overtly religious songs as often now, generic winter imagery becomes the safe common ground. In conclusion, the digital revolution didn't melt winter music, it multiplied it. Every algorithmic snowflake leads listeners back to the same eternal truth: cold times make for warm sounds.
Warm sound indeed. Winter music feels universal, Mr. Meg, yet climate and culture differ drastically. Has the language of snow survived globalization?
More than survived, it thrived by transforming. British pop pioneered the melancholy meets melody balance. Think of The Cure's A Letter to Elise or Coldplay's Every Teardrop is a Waterfall, both winter in mood, if not in temperature. Scandinavian artists like Aha and Siegfried built entire aesthetics around Nordic melancholy. Their crisp production literally sounds like air below freezing. Japanese city pop from the 1980s added another layer. Tatsuro Yamashita's Christmas Eve 1983 wasn't overtly religious, but captured Tokyo winter romance so vividly that it's been Japan's seasonal chart topper every year since. Streaming carried that sound westward, influencing lo-fi, hip-hop, and vaporwave producers who chase that same chill optimism. Even tropical countries participate. Brazilian bossa nova players recorded Winter Has Arrived to mirror the reflective calm of northern jazz. Global South artists translate cold metaphorically about distance, loss, or breakups. That adaptability makes winter the most portable emotion in pop. Music proves that you don't need real snowflakes to understand frost, just emotional weather, and everyone's forecast includes longing. In conclusion, winter became global shorthand for reflection, its imagery as exportable as melody itself.
So, Mr. Meg, after a century of musical frostbite, why do audiences keep coming back every year? Familiarity, nostalgia, or something deeper?
All of the above and rhythm. Winter songs mark time. They appear and disappear cyclically like the season they describe, giving listeners predictable comfort. The crooners and composers of the 1940s might not recognize Spotify, but they'd grasp the feeling. Every first frost rekindles their melodies, its cultural muscle memory. There's also a life rhythm at play. Endings are inherently musical, the cadence before silence. Winter reminds us of that. People replay these songs to ritualize closure. As the year winds down or begins, we revisit Sinatra's warmth, Tori Amos's ache, or Sia's wistfulness as a sonic longbook. So the calendar renews demand without marketing. No ad campaign needed. The weather handles promotion. Snowfalls inspire replays, shorter days encourage violins, and technology ensures success. TikTok resurrected Clyde Rogers' 1948 If Winter Comes last year after creator paired it with a time lapse city streets. Young listeners thought it was a new track. That's resurrection through context. Even film perpetuates the cycle. Movies from When Harry Met Sally to Love Actually renew the canon by syncing emotion to snow. Each decade's filmmakers reinvent the backdrop, the playlists follow. Winter has become an unspoken cinematic co star. And yet the emotion stays unchanged. Universality keeps royalties flowing. Whether you're streaming or revisiting Peggy Lee's Winter Weather, The message endures. People crave warmth, and melody delivers it when the sun can't. In conclusion, winter music persists because humanity does. The season keeps returning, and so does the need to feel something.
So, can we describe the winter as the state of being in between, Mr. Merrick?
While the secular world rushes towards the climax of the holiday season, the experience of winter is defined by liminality, the state of being in between. In the Judeo Christian tradition, this is the essence of Advent, a term derived from the Latin adventus, coming, but historically rooted in the Greek parousia, arrival. It is a season of active waiting. Musically, this translates into a specific architecture, this art of the pause, the sustain of the minor chord, and the intentional lowering of the sonic floor. Early Christian literature from the first to the fifth century often treated the cold as dark seasons of life, not as a void to be avoided, but as a space where the divine is most audible. Gregory of Nyssa spoke of the luminous darkness, suggesting that as the external world fades and the winter of the senses takes hold, the soul is finally able to perceive the Logos. This is echoed in the Jewish wisdom of Ecclesiastes 3:1, reminding us there is a time for every matter under heaven, including the seasonal death that precedes resurrection. In the mid 20th century, this theological waiting was perfectly captured by the soul and R&B pioneers of the late 1950s and 60s. Think of Otis Redding's posthumous masterpiece, Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Recorded just days before his death in the chill of early winter, this song is a masterclass in seasonal status. The whistling at the end is in a celebratory tone. It is the sound of a man existing in the in between. In conclusion, these wintry reflections are much like the desert fathers who retreated in the silence to find their voices.
So, Mr. Merrick, why does winter music move us so differently from the upbeat of summer?
Neuroscience offers a compelling answer through the default mode network, DMN. It's the brain system that becomes active when we are not focused on the outside world, when we are daydreaming, reflecting on the past, is waiting. Winter music, with its typically lower beats per minute and emphasis on wet reverb, mimicking the acoustic dampening of snow, pulls the listener out of the task oriented executive control network and into the DMN. When we listen to the Rolling Stones' Winter, we aren't just hearing a rock ballad, we are engaging in parasympathetic response. The song's production on Goat's Head Soup evokes a sense of being snowed in as a remote studio where the only thing to do is feel. The activation of the DMN is vital for what psychologists call cognitive integration. Just as a field must lie fallow in winter to produce in spring, our brains require these low temperature musical seasons and sessions to process the complex data of the preceding year. During the 1950s and 1970s, country music mastered the theology of the hearth, the idea that the home is a sanctuary against the chaotic winter of the world. Hank Williams, the hillbilly Shakespeare, pioneered this with Cold, Cold Heart in 1951. While the song is ostensibly about a relationship, its resonance in the winter months is profound. To the early church, winter was a metaphor for the state of humanity before grace, cold, rigid, and needed to be thawed by a higher heat. Contemporary trauma research by many psychologists emphasize the importance of co regulation. When the world feels cold, whether literally or metaphorically through trauma, the human nervous system seeks a voice, one with melodic variation. As an exclusive book coach, I often tell my clients that a great book must have a winter chapter, a section where the pace slows, the noise of the business or narrative drops away, and the reader is forced into the luminous darkness of reflection. Just as the Doors used the eerie, cold textures of Hyacinth House to create a moment of pause in a high octane album like LA Woman, a credible work of authority must respect the seasonal needs of the reader's brain. You cannot scale a business or a narrative without the period of dormancy. Winter songs endure because they are the liturgy of the living room. They remind us that the darkness is not an end, but a womb, where the soul is ready to enter. They are the soundtrack of the heart, the soundtrack of the heart. They are 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 Whether it's the soulful grit of the 60s or the philosophical rock of the 70s, these artists were tapping into a 2,000-year-old understanding. The most important work happens when it looks like nothing is growing. In conclusion, let the luminous darkness of the season refine your perspective just as it refined the melodies of the greats.
Indeed. So, Mr. Mick, to wrap up, can we think of winter songs as the world's collective heartbeat slowing down?
The tempo drops, detail sharpens, and we listen harder. Maybe that's why each snowfall seems to have a soundtrack already waiting. Every flake falls in 4/4 time. These songs are not escapes from cold, they're acknowledgments that cold exists. They help us survive it, emotionally first, physically second. In an era of endless screens, they still know how to pause. That's sacred in its own way. So the next time someone hums Let It Snow while scraping ice off their windshield, they're participating in the oldest modern tradition we have, turning discomfort into beauty. In conclusion, keep the needle down on the playlist looping. Winter isn't over until the last echo fades.
Indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Mike. Winter Songs, the soundtrack of cold seasons beyond Christmas, explores the music that captures winter's quieter moods. Songs shaped by stillness, reflection, resilience, and warmth rather than the holiday celebration. This theme highlights melodies that echo snowy landscape, long nights, and introspective moments, offering comfort and clarity during the coldest month. Mr. Meg, would you like to plug in something?
I appreciate the opportunity. Write the book, grow the business, and connect up with me on LinkedIn, GMIC, the Doctor of Digital Smith, PhD. Listen to the Doctor of Digital podcast. Pick up a couple volumes I have on Amazon. That's Burning America and On Track Ian Hunter. And if you like music, support true fans.
Yes, people support Mr. Meg, the Doctor Digital, and please do listen to our other podcasts, Love Letters, Mental Health, and Love Letters. Yeah, Love Letters. No, I forget the other one. But people, please do
Sex
listen.
101.
Sex 101. So please listen, people, to other podcasts that we are doing with Mr. Meg. So thank you for your time, Mr. Meg.
Thank you, my friend. Till next time, Deus Vult.
Maricam people, see you soon.